and your life is going to change. You are going to be different. My name is Mel, and your life is going to change. You are going to be different. My name is Mel, and your life is going to change. You are going to be different. You are going to be out. You are going to be bigger and larger than ever you imagined it possible. And you know why? Because just you and I were to find the power that's been dormant inside of you all of this time. And all of this time you were afraid to go out and no longer will that be the things. You will be the shine. You will be the God when God is coming. You will be the one that everybody goes to and says, hey, look, they're there. The master's there. The teacher there. There's the one that will make my life different. And who am I to do that? Remember, I just don't know. I'm here to help you. I'm here to change your life. Your life will no longer be the same. Be together. I'm going to accomplish the world. Before you know it, everything you imagine possible will become possible for one simple reason. And it is possible. My name is Mel, and your life is going to change. You are going to be different. My name is Mel, and your life is going to change. You are going to be different.
And welcome to another program of Uncommon Sense. And you're listening to the voice of Dr. Mel Gill. And I'm not sure, just had a late start. We had a lot of interesting things happen in the last few days, a lot of things to deal with. Not so pleasant, but what a chance it was, to become a little bit beyond what I thought I was all about. There are so many myths that I didn't clear about various thoughts and various things that happen in life. Where am I? I just lost you. Here we are. And today is going to be a little bit of a different day. This past week or so, where all of my equipment in the studio was flooded, and so was not, well, the flood was my own fault. I had sealed the studio. I mean, really made it waterproof and everything. Over the years, that part of the study was always filled with water when on rainy days. And in Singapore, it doesn't just rain, it pours. It pours like crazy. And so what I was trying to do was to turn on the way I've constructed a waterfall outside my house. It's a twin waterfall. One part of the waterfall falls straight into the pond, the koi pond, fairly large one. And the other was the pipe was laid underneath the stairs so that it would come down on the side of the stairs closest to the wall. Now, that wall, that waterfall, is against this wall, which is the one that also leads to the studio. In my bright mind, I thought instead of a trickle, because you can control it up there somewhat with a rock, I removed the rock completely so the thing just went down, splashing like a real waterfall. And at some points it was overflowing. And in fact, a lot of points was overflowing for 3 days. And I didn't realize that part at the bottom of that waterfall was not waterproofed. And so water seeped in through this office, went into the other office, and before you know it, all the wooden floors that I had built these wooden floors myself. No installation by anybody, had them all measured. All I had was the brawn that I hired for a day or two to just wham it into place, and all of that got buckled up and everything. And luckily, well, the computer is still a bit of a mess, but I'll try and figure it out. And those little hippos that I had all over the place, about 20 of them, were all full to the max with moisture. So, of course, I did everything necessary, moved out all the wood, did everything possible, dried it all up. And in the last few days with the heavy rains, nothing has happened. But it threw everything off kilter. So I didn't, but you see, even though there is a bad, quote unquote, bad thing that happened, or unpleasant thing that happened, and all those parts that were destroyed can be repaired, or replaced, it gave me a chance to take a look at the format of this program and how ad hoc it is, meaning it's whatever we want to talk about. And it kind of reminded me of the time I was on radio in Singapore from the year 2000, no, the year 1999. November was when I started. I remember that because it was scary as heck, and I remember sitting in front of the microphone. I remember one of the DJs there, one of the people who were reading the news readers and all that, offered to give me a mentorship for a month or two, so that I could get used to it, because I've never been on radio before. It would be my very first time. And I said, no, I don't think I need to do that. I think I'll be okay. And so they put a microphone in front of me, and there was no script. And I just sat there and was like breathing air. It was as natural as breathing air. And 7 years later, I got tired of it. And I decided, okay, because it limited my movements in and out of Singapore. So I could only go a month. And they could make an excuse for a month for not having Uncommon Sense, the program, on air. Because I live in New York, and how do you look after your kids in New York when you have this thing running in Singapore? And the whole idea was to be able to see if I could run it off the internet, take it out to the world, and run the program at some point from the United States. Of course, that didn't happen. And I started to decide that I would move to Bulgaria and take a look at what I could do for what I was doing, seminars and all of these, and teaching people to run seminars is basically what I am. I don't teach people to become rich, because that's all the fake gurus and all the other people that tell you can become rich overnight. It doesn't happen. It's a lot of hard work. And not always does the fortune favor everyone who gets into that field, whether it's Kindle or Amazon or Forex or some land deals or something like that. I mean, come on, it's such a small island. Think about it. How much property can you buy? And then if you want to do some things with no money down, I mean, there are rules that prevent that from happening, and so on and so forth. So it doesn't happen that way. But then I realized that there's nobody actually teaching these courses and everything, not just giving you 20% and 30%, and then the rest of it, you have to pay their expensive seminars to be able to attend. And so I decided to start 2 years ago, my foundation. And the whole idea of the foundation is to be able to do what I was doing before and charging a lot of money, the master trainer training and all of that, to make it affordable to everybody in the world. And hopefully they run it on a 2-for-1, buy one, give one sort of attitude. So, pay for 2 courses, $100, $200, whatever the case might be, so that if there's a person that cannot afford, we'll pluck it from there, because after all, it is the business that has to run a business. And what do? I tell people the only way you're going to get wealthy is to work for yourself. And how do you work for yourself? Become a teacher, become a seminar, quote unquote, guru, if you want. Go out there, but don't promise people things that is not achievable. Show them the way. And show them how inexpensive it is. And if they want to support you when they become successful, great, let them do that. And if they don't want to support you because they're assholes to begin with, then okay, no problem as well. That's fine. Either way, you have done what you needed to do on the planet and helped as many people as possible. So I digress. The whole idea for the studio, creating one here, is so that when I see how efficient this is, I can create another studio in Bulgaria. And when I'm not there, my son can take over and create another one in the United States. And if I'm not there, it will just sit or be rented out to somebody who wants it. So that's why I wanted to help run all these programs that I used to run since 1991. In 1991, I created officially Before that, it was unofficial. It was in corporate headquarters of companies like IBM and other companies that were General Electric that were near my house, actually in Croton on Hudson, 15 minutes away drive. And then I made it formal. And so the Master Trainer Institute of New York was born in White Plains, and which was the closest big city next to my place. And we began certifying people to become master trainers. We started the Master Trainer Association of Singapore, which was then run by a fellow who was the president of the United Nations Association of Singapore. And then that went off on its own, and I became just a founder. But that's okay. That's fine. I don't need accolades and stuff. I just wanted to do what was my mission. If I can tell you that all of these people coming into this country, Singapore, from the United States or Europe or anywhere, Australia, wherever, and they're saying that, and everybody is willing to pay them the high prices, $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 to go into their master classes. Let me tell you where the money is, and the reason why some of them teach you how to make money through this and that and the other thing are still running courses is because the running of the courses is where the money is at. So if you became a teacher, but you were teaching something real, something solid, not some bullshit course about becoming a millionaire overnight, but say something about how to be happy and run a business, how to be an entrepreneur, how to invest your money properly, how to do this, and you are really teaching something important. And don't make it so expensive, ludicrously expensive. Make it inexpensive so that people can benefit from it. Because really, most of the stuff that these gurus are teaching you are really, really on the internet for free. Or if you want, you can go to Khan Academy and get it for free. You go to the international, what's it called, People University or University of the People. You can get it there as well. This guy, Nas, who runs the Nas Daily thing, that's just now based in Singapore, has courses on such a thing as well. He's pushing the People University, International People University, something like that. I look it up, free university. I mean, really, it doesn't cost anything to attend. I mean, that is a dream of mine eventually to do, so that we can help people. So anyway, long story short, because I didn't come to the point. Instead of every day wanting to do this, where I say, what should we talk about? Should we talk about relationships? Because we always come back to relationships, and we always and we always talk about guests coming on, and they go on and on and on. And then sometimes they teach us stuff. Sometimes it's just a chat. Sometimes you're listening like a voyeur to a conversation going on. And I wanted to do something a little bit more, a little bit better, so that everybody can benefit from this. And I wanted to create something that you can benefit from as well. So tonight, I'm going to run this program maybe for another half an hour or so. Not teaching anything particular, but getting remarks from you about what we can do to make this better. First of all, let me acknowledge the people in the room. Boyan Angelov, hello. Janice, Yo, Diana Bodino, Upik Makanya, welcome. Unpronounceable, welcome. My mother, hey Momji, how are you? Sting Malawan. Sawasdi, how was the flood? Yo, yeah, I just finished the story on the flood. Glad to hear you again, Dr. Mel Guiltina Ray, Rena Tay, sorry. And Harmungal, yay, Auntie, how are you? Also saying hello. So my question here, if you can see it, where's the return button? This one works. What are the topics you'd like for me to cover thoroughly in a program like this? And what I want to do, let me tell you what I want to do and see if it's okay with you, and give me a thumbs up or write a thumbs up, say yes, yes, yes. I'm working with a friend on editing all of these things. Actually, it's a partner working on all of these things and editing everything I'm saying, so that I will bring it up in 15-minute segments. except for when I'm teaching something important, like, say, for instance, how to slip into an entrepreneurial consciousness or mindset, various ways in which you can get over some emotional trauma, things like this. And so that I can run those at half an hour courses. So there'll be part one, part two, part three, all free, all here. And so, what are some of the topics you'd like for me to cover thoroughly? If you could write it here, what I'm going to do is, oops, sorry, pen. First, I needed you. Now I don't need you. Oh, I do need you. Here we go. So I'm going to write it down here so that in case I lose it, what are some of the topics you'd like me to cover? And be open, be everything, because remember, I'm all over the place. I seem to be having knowledge about extensive knowledge. I mean, hey, when you reach my age at some point, you're going to know a lot of things, and you're going to have learned a lot of things as well. You learn about happiness. You learn about what really works, what doesn't work in terms of happiness. You learn about what is useful and not useful in terms of running a business. You learn from somebody who's failed a lot of times, but also succeeded a whole number of times. And so what people don't realize, the first rule of entrepreneurship in success and failure, is they look at the end result, and you see that, okay, somebody has collapsed an entire business, and they say that that's a failure. Not really. You have to look at the business as a quarterly business or a semi-yearly business, twice a year business, where you come to accounts. So in one quarter you're successful, in another quarter you may not be, and the next quarter you be successful. So overall, you've had more successful quarters than you've had unsuccessful quarters. So if you run your business for like 5 years, 10 years, and you've succeeded and you made a lot of money doing it, you know you made a lot of money because you could spend money on this, that, the other thing, and you were not limited. And then in the final year, you lost everything because of something, COVID or something. Does that mean you're unsuccessful? No, it doesn't. You're a successful business, but circumstances have brought you to a point where you could not go on anymore. So you, like all energy, it doesn't end. The energy has to change its form. So businesses that survive are, and even I'm talking about not just entrepreneurs, but solopreneurs, people who don't need a whole team, people who are working by themselves. Right now, you're looking at a solopreneur. I don't have a team anymore. I no longer have the 29 people I used to have in 2011 or 2010. No longer huge overhead with all of the 10,000 a month rent and things like this. So it looks successful on the outside, but we were bleeding because there was too many expenses and only one person working, and that, guess who that person is? So now if there's just one person working and none of that overhead, and you can freelance a lot of the services necessary thanks to Elance, thanks to Upwork, thanks to guru.com and freelancer.com and many other places, everything you need to get done is easily done. If you're lucky enough, you might need a few people who might be able to help you along the way to grow. So as in terms of consultation, yes, I help a lot of people, a lot of companies, a lot of friends develop and grow their businesses, and so that they become successful. But in the process of helping others, I am diminishing mine. Why? I'll tell you why. Because I've come to the point in my life where it's not necessary anymore to be quote unquote successful, to make your millions. For what? It doesn't make any sense anymore. Why drive expensive cars and have expensive houses? So slowly I'm divesting myself of everything until I come to a point where I don't own anything. And probably by middle of next year, I will not own anything. Because this is how Siddhartha was, a prince who gave up everything he had and found everything a little bit harder. but was a lot more balanced in the way he approached life and a lot less troubled by what he thought was life. So people suffer a lot of pain. And so by having been in all those business scenarios, by having been one of those motivational hoo-has in the world, I kind of know what it's like out there. I kind of know who's got something real for you, as opposed to those who just mouth, and because of the color of their skin, or because of the loudness of their speech, kind of tells you that they may know some a lot more than you, but they don't really. They're all people trying to get by. It's very difficult. So by saying all that, what I'm saying is that this breadth of experience that I have from running a cryptocurrency advisory service out of Bulgaria to Singapore, which I didn't continue getting into. My son just continued gangbusters, and he's making money and losing money and doing what he's doing. When I was at his age, I was doing that as well. So it became a little bit difficult, very tough as well. So what I wanted to do was to come to a point where I no longer need to have the things I needed to have before. That Mel Gill is dead or dying, gone. I spend a lot of time in meditation, sometimes to the point where I don't know where I've been or what I'm feeling or thinking, and I don't know where the ideas are coming from. And I'm writing them all down, and I'm writing books. I have different people taking care of different aspects of my life and helping me along, because sometimes you get disoriented because when you spend so much time on the other side, you spend so much time thinking and seeing the world as it is, so much time counseling so many people, ultimately you ask yourself this one question: cultural norms, family norms, things that hold you to who you are, ideas of who you are. When you were a child, what did you want? What did you dream about becoming? Astronaut. You wanted to go to Mars, to the moon. You wanted to help humanitarian causes, bring water to the deserts, and all of that. Well, that hasn't stopped. That continues, but it continues with a little bit of a caveat. It continues with a point that somehow along the way, if it didn't happen, it's okay. If it did, it's fine. So I am at that point. It's November, and probably by December or so, I'm 100% in a mode where I serve. That's it. That's all I do is serve. So serve as many people as I can, support as many people as I can, counsel as many people as I can. I have been doing that on private messages, and people come to me and call me. But except that there's a strange guy from Hong Kong he saw me in a LinkedIn photograph with some guy who was a freelancer that I hired to build a website at that time. He did his job, but then he's finished. He left. He did whatever he did. And I don't know what happened to him, but he and the other guy got into some kind of thing. He owes him money, and he wanted me to be a bill collector, and I couldn't help him with that. I said I'd try as much as I can, but those are not the kind of problems I want to solve for you. The issues I want to help solve are things that, if you find yourself in a stuck relationship and both of you want to stay together, that's where I come in. If you find yourself at a job where you're unmotivated and you don't know what to do and you don't know why you're there and you want to know what to do next, that's where I come in. If you want advice about how to begin this or how to begin that or the other thing, and you want to know how to do that, that's where I come in. And so I can advise you on all these things because I know not to do them this way or that way or the other way, or I can connect you with the people that can help you along the way. And now this is called living in the world, and yet at the same time living in the other consciousness. So you're melting the consciousnesses together. Is there a plural for consciousness? So, okay, long story short, what I want to do is to run this uncommon sense in such a way that the lives like this will only happen maybe once a month. Maybe we'll do once a month. It's just a thought. I'm still a project and waiting. But the rest of the time, I want to broadcast every single day, at least 15 minutes a day or half an hour a day, through this medium or any other medium, YouTube, Facebook Live, Instagram. I'm learning more about that, and other such like, and run these courses and programs and seminars. So like the first one that I'm going to start to launch, and I'm putting it together right now, and I'm writing it down so I don't forget myself because there's so many things I've got happening. What is underneath this thing? Oh, it's a book. I haven't finished yet. All my books are all around me. The page is open. The Master Trainer Certification Program, where I teach you to become a master trainer. How many people here listening to me right now? How many people is this? 5, 6, 5. Wow, so popular. Certificate, and that's how you spell certificate. How many people here would like me to run a master trainer certification program? It will run maybe the better part of 5 or 6 hours a day, but I won't be live in it. I will be live at the end where I come in and on the last day. It will be like a 6-day program or so. It will be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll run it, and then the following Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and all you have to do is pay attention. It's going to be affordable as hell, not the 4,000, 6,000, whatever I charged before. Sound ridiculous. Small amount, maybe $100 a day, something like that. So, and if you still cannot afford that, just write into the Dr. Mel Gill Foundation, and we have somebody there who will just send you a voucher certificate that says you can't afford it, and we'll give it to you at a nominal fee, $10 or something like that a day, whatever that might work. So this will open up to a lot of people as well. If you're from a country like in Africa, where a village where you don't have enough, then please let us know, and we might be able to do that with a promise that you would go back and teach for a certain number of hours in your village, something that you are good at. All I can teach you is mastery of the stage, mastery of your charisma and how you project yourself, and the way in which you are delivering programs, how to do it, how not to do it, and what suits you and your personality and your background and your education. But I cannot teach you mastery of your subject. That you have to have. I'm going to assume that you have, so that you'll be able to go on and do that. So my question to you for the better part of the rest of the show, next half hour, is what topics would you like me to cover? Remember, I want to begin Uncommon Sense Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So it's every day. You get to tune in every day at a particular time. We'll call it 9 o'clock or whatever. And then you can always rewatch it. And we'll put a new separate Facebook for it as well, and a separate YouTube channel for it as well. Because the YouTube channel I have, it's not secure. I found out just the other day. Not secure at all. So we're going to have to build it from scratch and make it absolutely secure. So regardless, please, right here, anywhere in StreamYard. What are the topics you'd like to see me talk about? And I will add that to my list of things I will teach you. At this point, you would be writing furiously and typing in here. Oh, if you want to be on the show, though, and talk to me directly and tell me about it, this is the link to get on this program. If you're on Facebook, you will see it right now. If you're on YouTube, it should show up in about 2 seconds, I think. Wow, it's not showing up anywhere. So there may be a problem with the connection. Oh, I see the problem right now. Okay. What I had on was a VPN, and the VPN slows the signal. So now the signal will be even stronger. And so you should be able to get this thing right now. But it didn't work. If you're hearing me okay, just do a that button so I can hear, so you know you're hearing me, so that I know that you are also. Found one error in text. What is that error? Okay, it's not doing it because it found an error. So now I'm copying this, going back, and let's see how this works. And that should work now. But it doesn't work because I don't see it on. Is it possible, Ting says, if it's possible, if you recommend the books which make you impressed or have learned something? Sure, absolutely. What I will do is I will put together a list of books that have influenced me. Now, by doing that, you realize that I have narrowed my vision to just these books. There's no way to turn this computer around. The shelves you see behind me are only two of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 bookshelves in my house. So I could write them all down. I don't know which one has impressed me at all, except for the Apocrypha. It's called the Apocrypha. I'll spell it out because I wanted to know more. I wanted to do more research. And these were some of the books that were not included in the text. Now, this is very funny because it looks like my Facebook is frozen. So at least the written part of it is frozen. That's very, very funny. So, and this is where I depend on people. Oh, Malinka, you're listening. Malinka, if you could write something on Facebook, like say hello or something, I want to see if I can see that on the comment section in Facebook and not StreamYard. So yeah, Apocrypha is one. The other book is Think and Grow Rich. Was a very useful book. It showed me about the manner of thinking. Think and Grow Rich. There was another book as well, Psycho-Cybernetics. By Maxwell Maltz, was a very influential book for me as well. Feel Good by David. The book was called Feel Good. It's an easy reference book. David, what is your last name? Well, the book is on CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, put in simple words so that you'll be able to uh, understand. And those are influential books for me as well. Frogs into Princes. The first book, Frogs into Princes, and first book written about NLP. I thought it was very useful way back in 1985, 87, when I first learned about all of this and was studied all of this at the University of British Columbia, together with a local guy, well, Malaysian local guy. I see his face. Ernest. What's your last name, Ernest? Wong. Ernest Wong. He was one of the pioneers in Singapore together with me, and we brought this NLP to a level of showmanship where we had to let people know that if you want to decide, it came so funny. If you want to decide who is a better teacher, first of all, sit with them, listen to what they have to say, and tell me if you can take 5 days or 6 days of that person. It's supposed to teach you about charisma. If you don't have charisma, then what are they teaching you? You see, then that's exactly what's happening in the world right now as well. So people are teaching you stuff that they cannot do. And so it becomes a little bit difficult understanding that. So this thing is not working. So I'm going to try and relaunch it at some point. My son Luke is not here. I don't really know where he is. Haven't spoken to him for about a week. I hope everything's all right with him. But then again, I've been very busy on my own. So, Ting, I hope this is a good start for you also. And all books you can read by Milton Erickson. Such an amazing guy. And who else can I think about? Carl Jung. A lot of books by Wilhelm Reich. You may have to spell that one. Wilhelm R-E. They're not fun books to read. I mean, if you're looking for fun reads, they're not. Reich was dealing with fascism at his time, 1950s, 1960s, but he came up with some very interesting ideas about cures for cancer and what ails us, and with tools that were far ahead of his time. They actually threw him in jail, stripped him of his medical degree credentials, and he died of a heart attack in prison. It's kind of sad, but he left a lot of good work for us. Carl Jung was a student of Freud and Sigmund Freud, and just to let you know, and gave us an ability to look into the unconscious mind as a relevant part of how we go about the treatment of most psychoses to help people along the way. So if you have any questions for me, now is a good time to ask as well. We're coming up to 9:40. This program will end about 10 o'clock or sooner. If there are no more questions, then I can probably just call it a day. But if you have any idea what you'd like me to talk about, some suggestions over here were to talk about depression and how to get over it. Somebody asked me 2-3 days ago how to launch a seminar business. LAUN. If that's interesting to you guys, a seminar business or a business seminar or coaching business, or even teach you elements of coaching. So I'm going to write it down, but it's not showing up here. How interesting. If you can show me on this thing, let me try and figure out what's going on with this thing. If I push it to this side, there are no sides to talk about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off and relaunch this app on Facebook, because sometimes that's all it takes, and we shall have it better. Oh, there we go. I did, and that worked. So, Malinka, did you say something? You did not. So now, if you would, that somehow helped. I guess there's a problem with the program. I'm gonna just say boo hoo hoo. And see if that shows up. Yeah. Yes, you wrote to me, but you wrote to me there and not here. How interesting is this? So it looks like my Facebook over here is not registering everything I'm writing here, which means it's probably not doing it on YouTube as well. So I may not continue using StreamYard much longer if all these problems persist, because they seem to have had the same problem as well. Oh, I just needed you to write something so that I could see where it shows up. Now, it says it's showing up on Facebook, but no, nothing is shown here. My Facebook is not showing it. So at some point, I think it might be my phone or my programs or something. I'm not sure what it is. I have to relaunch or recalibrate. So we'll talk through here, the StreamYard thing here. That would help. So I tell you what, I'm going to end the program here because there isn't very much for me to say today. I wanted to know if you could write down about 10 different subjects you'd like me to cover, and at a later date, or even now if you can, it'll show up later in my post on my sides here, or even here in StreamYard, and I'll be taking a look at your suggestions and creating programs for that. And if I see an overlap where 4 or 5 people want the same subject, then I will create a program. It doesn't take me long to create programs or to talk about anything, any subject, or to create an entire webinar, if you will, and have it here instead. And it will be broadcast through this so that you'll be able to see it, but it will not be live. And the live sessions will be held for like people who want to chat with me, up to 10 people at a time on this thing, or maybe even more. We might even do it through Zoom or something else. Does that sound good to everybody? If it does sound good, post a heart. You're going to have to post a heart, not hit a heart, because it doesn't work. This heart thing here doesn't work, so you're going to have to do it there. Either way. So you've been listening to Uncommon Sense. We have been talking about many things. Some of the things we talk about are things that have to do with happiness, love, achieving relationships that are powerful. Some people believe in some myths that those myths now have to be destroyed. Things like achieving your goals will make you happy. No, it doesn't, because, there are a lot of people, especially life coaches, that will tell you the story that they see happiness or their clients see happiness as a final result, once they pay off their debt or they pay out their debt for graduate school or their house or whatever that thing is, or they get their promotion or they find a husband or a wife. But you have to understand that accomplishing all these goals will only provide very short-term happiness for you. And they will likely fade, that happiness, in the face of your next goal or your next obstacle. So if you want, I will urge you to do one thing, to base your happiness on something other than a long term or a short term goal. So maybe enjoying the process of being alive, where true happiness can be found in the process. It's how you do the things that bring you to your goal that matters more than the goal. How you do the things, how you get there is more important than getting there. And that's I have to tell you, it's true. If you are enjoying yourself on the way, the example would be like, if somebody asked for an example, flying first class to Varna from Singapore, let's say, is quite a different experience from flying economy. You see, when you fly economy, there are many restraints, and you feel the restraints. Your knees are crushed up to your chest. Your meals are unidentifiable and less frequent. And also at the same time, uh, you don't know who's breathing on you, who's screaming next door, and the child that's doing all kinds of calisthenics on your back of your chair. So, all of these things irritate you, make you feel bad along the way. And so you start thinking about the worst case scenario, as opposed to, say, sitting further up in the plane, where you're treated with complete, like royalty. And you're given the best foods, and you get to lie down flat, and there's nobody screaming. If somebody is screaming, they get thrown in the luggage compartment, and so on and so forth. So by doing all of that, you begin to realize that maybe somewhere along the way, your attitude, it doesn't matter that you're flying first class or second class, your attitude is everything. Your attitude along the way, even finding the things, the silver lining in everything, will be the one that helps you through all of the darkness you are going through. Some people even believe an extension of that you must be self-sufficient to be happy. You must be financially independent. You must have love in your life. I mean, look, I've gone through the worst case scenario. I don't know who to believe. I don't know to believe that somebody actually loves me or doesn't love me. For the moment, she does. I know if anybody says that. But if something changes, she stops. But this is the nature of everything on earth. Nothing is certain. Nothing will hold water until that point when water is needed to be held. So who's to say? I mean, it's like somewhere along the way you lose touch with everything and then begin to realize there isn't a center for you to be happy. That the happiness has to be the journey along the way, and that nothing and no one can help you. And for those moments, that's where you need a voice or something or someone who has been there, done that, and understood that this journey on earth is not about getting from one thing and one achievement and one uh, big wonderful goal to another big wonderful goal. It's really about enjoying the process. I was speaking to somebody along the way. I don't know, I think it was yesterday or the day before. I can't remember now. The days are melting. And I said, even if you make your money, your goals, what do you get? You get to die. Even if you find love in your life, what's next? You get to die. Even if you achieve perfect health along the way and you are slim and looking like you were 20 years ago, what do you get? You get to die. At the end of that, everybody will be looking at you and saying in the coffin, as you're laying in the coffin, oh, look at him. He's so slim and he's so smiling, but he's dead. So At the end of this journey, no matter what you think is important, it is important while you're getting there, because that's how you create the tension, not having as opposed to having. I must do this. I have to have this. I have to have that person or this person. And then you begin to realize that not only is it impossible to achieve all of these feats for social animals like us, by focusing on independence, financial, emotional, or otherwise, it tends to cut us off from awareness of our own emotional states and our own vulnerability. You want to find love? I teach you a shortcut. Become absolutely vulnerable. You want a relationship to stay a long time before one or both of you die? Don't think of anybody else. Don't think of an out. Don't think that there may be another better. Just, this is it. This is your lot. This is your karma. This is it. Nothing else. Wow. And trust me, you watch everything change. The people who are in a house with their Prince Charming or Princess Charming are still looking out the window nowadays, waiting for the next Prince Charming to show up or the princess in distress to show up. And those are the unhappy ones. It's like I don't know if you remember the dog in the dog carrying a bone, and he was crossing a river, and there was a bridge over the river. So he was on the bridge, and he looked over the edge of the river, and he saw a reflection, his reflection. Another dog was carrying a huge bone in his mouth, and he wanted that bone because it looked delicious, just like his bone. But he didn't see that because his bone was too close to him, and that bone, the reflection, looked better. So he opened his mouth to get it, and of course he lost that reflection and the bone at the same time. People who are looking outwards instead of inwards at their relationships are very unhappy. And having all kinds of things in your life will not make you happy. Cars, houses, stuff. Yes, you'll enjoy the process of flying from one place to another in a jet. But after that, the journey ends. And what happens at that point? People say, well, then what do we do? Well, we're working towards happiness. We're going to get there. And they say this myth that happiness is the destination, but that's not true. It's not a future destination. It's not something that's off on the horizon somewhere. You just simply become happy and you stay there. It's a state. If you cannot be happy right now, people, then if you cannot be happy in this present moment, no matter what your circumstances are, you will never be happy one day. It will never happen. Some people say there's a path to happiness. No, there isn't a path to happiness. It's a well-being. It's every day making a decision to be happy. Every minute, every hour, choosing the happy alternative. It's the idea that people have sometimes that if you continue on the right path, you'll become happier and happier over time. But that's not true. There is no sure, real path to happiness. They're paths that people talk about. They write about it, and motivational hoo-has do that all the time. But none of them are based on an idea of doing the right thing, really. It's an idea that the state of mind. But you also have to understand that while you want to be happier, people think that happiness is a normal state of mind for human beings. It's not. It's a very unhealthy myth out there that people have, and you have to understand this. Coming from the mental health field, in reality, much of life is painful, very, very painful. And the less you are able to embrace this, and the more likely you will be seen to be struggling. And also at the same time, those who are able to perceive their pain as part of life are a lot better equipped to handle life and move through it. So recognize happiness as a rest place or respite from struggle. Not a state of being that you need to be constantly in. And some people even tell me that, well, maybe you sound a little bit jaded, Mel, but I'm not really. They say happiness decreases with age. That's bullshit, beyond bullshit, beyond bullshit. The truth is, the older we get, the happier we tend to become, because we've been practicing that before, barring any deaths and other incidences and loss and so on and so forth. Barring all of that, in my experience, I can tell you that's largely because when we're older, we no longer seek other people's acceptance, other people's approval, other people's appreciation. We don't live for others. We don't care what people think of us. We dress the way we want. We go out, we do and say whatever the hell we want, and women discuss, how they will take more risk and get out there more often, and men discuss how they have to calm down a little bit, and find themselves less stressed instead of achieving all the time. And some people say, well, you're either a happy person or you're not a happy person. Again, total bullshit, because there are no such thing as happy people. And that's from a clinical psychology perspective. If you understand and you start reading more about cognitive behavioral therapy, the book that I suggested you begin to understand that despite others' best efforts to convince you of this fact, that they're through all of their Instagram bullshit pictures, the fact is we all have good and bad parts of our day. The more you focus on this fictional world between happiness and a lack, the more unhappy you will become. So stop looking at other people's Facebook and other people's Instagrams and all that. What you're looking at is fake, is bullshit total, and they just want to be appreciated more. And if you compare that with yourself in your life, then you begin to realize that these people are going to remain in a lost and that idea, that void in their head. So not the owning of stuff. Stuff doesn't help you at all. And some people say happiness is a choice. Well, I see it everywhere, all over social media. Happiness is a choice. Choose happiness. Da, 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 da. As if you could easily flip a switch and be happy all day. That's like sticking a vibrator up your ass and having it on all day. It doesn't work. So while there's value in practicing things like gratitude, so it gives you mental and emotional resources, enjoying the little things is a mantra that really works. Far too simplistic when you say that you should be 24 hours a day having gratitude in your life. Most of the time, happiness kind of finds you, not the other way around. You don't find it, it finds you. It's not a voluntary action. It's more of a serendipity. It's more like a, what do they call it? This law of attraction kind of occurrence, this synchronicity. Synchronous events start to happen along the way. Actually, I have to tell you, the idea of the word itself, hap, H-A-P, the root word of happiness, which means by luck or by chance. Hap, H-A-P. That's where it comes from. So people think that happiness comes from external sources. It doesn't. They think it comes from somewhere outside of themselves. No, this couldn't be more untrue. Much of our happiness comes from our not from our circumstances, but how we tend to want to respond to our circumstances. Because happy people don't have all the best things. They just make the best of the things they have.
It's 10 o'clock.
And happy people have people to remind them that they said this program was going to end at 10 o'clock, and we should. Some people, let me end on one thing. One other myth that people have about happiness is that they say that a simple life will make them happy, but that's not true. This idea has been floating around about having a balanced, work-balanced life, functional, normal life. somehow boring or less than. You have to understand that there's nothing wrong with aiming for a balanced and satisfying life, but only if that's important to you. Instead of comparing yourself, say, to these social media stars that we were talking about earlier, or even the people they write about in business, the startup founders or the international CEOs who are making a big name, you have to understand the statistic out there. For every one entrepreneur you read about that succeeds, more than 10,000 fail. For every one successful entrepreneur, 10,000 entrepreneurs fail. That's the entrepreneurial journey. It's not the Disneyland you thought it was. You see, it's important for you to remember that you are on your own journey, not their journey. It doesn't have to look like theirs, but you are on your own journey. You have to dismiss that voice that says you're not successful just because you're not going viral or having 100,000 people on your Facebook or whatever, making you feel happy and so on and so forth. It's not. It doesn't make any sense. And don't be buried in your career, because that's not going to make you happy. This society is sick. It's put so much stock in finding a career, but a job is only part of your identity, part of what you do, but that's not the whole of you. There's so many other aspects of life, and when combined, they make a whole person. And people say, well, the bumps in life or the bad things that happen to you impede on your happiness. Well, there are a lot of inspirational, motivational hoo-has, that says, well, you can work towards the happiness, and it's unfortunate that this and that happened. It may have reduced your happiness by 40%, 30%, 50%, but you have to understand one thing that's true. The ability to fully embrace the beauty of your own unique journey, including all of its unexpected twists and turns and ups and downs. That means not despairing at all the curveballs that come your way, and actually embracing this uncertainty and recognizing the growth we experience along the way. I mean, like, say, for instance, for me, the last few days, I've been in this very interesting, I told you, because everything seemed like it was not working together. And I began to realize that I was, at some point in the last 10 years, very comfortable with having no center. And then all of a sudden, I became uncomfortable having no center. I needed something more, and something that I thought would come to me, as we head into this quote unquote retirement era and everything else. And while that may be true for a select group of people, there is always a purpose that we have. And somewhere along the way, my purpose has always been to serve humanity, to push humanity forward, and not to head into retirement. I cannot even imagine that. Nor can I imagine that money will make anybody happy. But there is a cutoff time. There's a correlation between having a certain amount of income and emotional well-being, which when you start earning $75,000 a year or more, a study was done about 8 years ago that revealed this, and one conclusion they had was that high income buys life satisfaction, but it doesn't buy you happiness. And finally, the question we all have to ask: can you be happy alone? You can be happy alone. I've been teaching that, but now I'm beginning to realize that somehow I think I need to retrace my steps on that. Yes, being happy with yourself is, of course, important, but it doesn't mean you be happy in seclusion. I think there's a research in the University of Oxford, early 1990s, that found that extroverts are generally happier than their peers, due to their greater participation in social activities. And therefore, the researchers concluded that happiness correlates strongly with an extroverted personality type, or people who had groups or were part of groups, and yet while being part of a group or a social, because we are social animals after all, um, while recognizing that we're part of a group, we have to also accept uh, our circumstances, and happiness is part of that. Accepting the circumstances that you have, not wanting what the other guy has, or the other woman has, or what you see on television, or make believe, or even something inside of you. If you're unhappy, no matter what your situation, trying out a change in a very small way was initially a very good idea. You know, that will create very many things, but initially. And then after that, it's up to you. Some people say it's your fault that you're not happy, you know, that you're not able to find happiness and so on and so forth, and that maybe you're doing something wrong. Well, the fact is, mental illnesses affect many people around the planet and people's ability to achieve a state of satisfaction in their lives. There is a association in the United States. I don't know if it is here, the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, that says that 18% of the population is affected by anxiety disorders. 6.7% is affected by major depressive disorders. So don't blame yourself. Seek help. Because happiness is not a solo project. That's another thing that was wrong. Happiness is not a solo project. Happiness is no different than raising a child. Happiness, it takes a village. It takes your community. Who is your community? Who is your tribe? Who are the people that you relate to? Whether it's at the temple, meditation center, yoga center, whatever the case might be, temple, church, mosque, you decide. You know, especially as we age, people, having the support of other people is very pivotal in terms of maintaining happiness. The quality and the quantity of social support can be taken into account as proper, what shall we say, determinants and predictors maybe of happiness among older folks. That's what most of the studies have shown. So understand, there are no secrets to happiness. There's simply you deciding for yourself, this is what you want to do. This is what you want to create. Hey, Babaji, how are you? My father just said hello. So, to be self-sustainable, that's a topic we should talk about too, Malinka. Self-sufficient, sustainable. You mean self-sustainable financially, emotionally, spiritually? Let me know, and I'll write that down. Hi, Dr. Gill. Thank you very much. You give us so much energy and courage. My pleasure to serve all the time. Chan, we should talk about starting up in Bangkok soon. Ashok Thakur, hey. Ashok, how are you? Emotional. Okay, got it. I wrote down emotional also, so it'll be very good. Malinka says, sorry now is. Wow, I like your word. Attitude is everything. Yes, it is everything. So, yeah. So, I tell you what. You all have my DM. What does DM stand for? You know, the private part of this thing where you, if you're a fan, you can leave a message. Tell me what are some of the topics you'd like me to cover. And starting next week, this Friday, I will run Uncommon Sense one more time. And this time I'll have a dialogue with a few people. I'll make sure my son is on. And we will talk about what the structure of this program is going to look like. So Friday will be the last live Uncommon Sense program for about a month. It will take me until the end of December to create more videos 15-minute videos, half an hour long videos, so that they will be more useful for you and you will learn a lot more. And so that we are not rambling all the time. And once a month, we haven't discovered when. We'll do it like Thanksgiving, the third Friday of every month. We will run a live session of Uncommon Sense. So far, that's going to be the plan. So, without much further ado, I don't even feel like, oh, what the hey. We come into this world recognizing nothing that is real, nothing that we can understand. And we're given a period of time in our infancy to the time we can walk and talk and respond to the world around us. We're given that amount of time to recognize what those who have brought us into the world, our parents, tell us is true or not true. Otherwise, we have no references, no point that we can turn to and say, this is this, and that is that. And these are the colors, and that is that. That there are no more colors beyond this because we say so. That's what we know. The limits of our ability are the limits of our evolution. The limits of our knowledge are also the limits of our evolution. So how could you have more love if you don't understand what love is to begin with? How can you have more abundance if you don't know what abundance is? How can you be healthy and have more health in your life if you don't know what real health is? Whether we're talking about physical health or mental health or emotional health or spiritual health, how do you know? There are no references. And that's why you seek out gurus and teachers along the way who promise you the moon, but in the end, deliver you moon dust. And how would you know about love except the promises that people make to you? And these people promise you the moon and deliver moon dust. You have been hurt, you have been disappointed, you have been let down, you have been lied to, you have been cheated, you have been taken advantage of. But still you maintain that somewhere, somehow, there's going to be something that will show itself as true. And what is that thing? What is that person? Is it the one that looks the most confident that you should follow? Or the one that says, hey, I have found the way. This is the way. It's the way for them, but it's not the way for you. Or have they given up the search? Because you notice that people who found the truth no longer are seekers, no longer question. Everything is based on their belief. But what if your belief is based on nothing except what you see in front of you here, what you experience in front of you now? What if at the end of all of this interesting learning and everything else, you've forgotten the most important thing? And what is that most important thing? I don't know. I don't know. It's important now, but later on it won't be. It's important for you to learn But later on, will you use that knowledge? Will you go forward? Will it help you? Will it help others along the way? The way in which people win is they try to make other people lose so that they become the winners. The way people build themselves is by tearing other people down because they seem taller and bigger somehow. So how do you measure a person's worth? How do you measure who they are, what they are? You can't. There are no yardsticks. Nobody showed us since birth who is a good person and who's not. We listen to our parents. We listen to our teachers from churches, synagogues, mosques, and temples. And we assume they know the truth. They don't know. They just believe because they've given up seeking. Is this my God? Who is God's God? Who is beyond that? What is beyond that? No, except this. Be happy where you are. Really, it's a command? I thought it's something we become. I've been spending my days thinking about peaceful nights and days of rain. As beautiful as it is, it floods my studio. Peaceful nights, as beautiful as they are, they raise so many questions, the answers of which I don't have, do not possess. But I know one thing for sure, my friends. You and I are on a journey, and the end of the journey is death, at least on this level. What's beyond, I will tell you. Been there, done that. So I'm not afraid. And I'll show you what to expect. But in the meanwhile, your journey and my journey involves one thing. What is the degree of our comfort levels? What is the degree of our comfort when it comes to not knowing? When it comes to uncertainty? I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. Not for me, not for you. I don't know if I will be here tomorrow morning or I will wake up. I assume. Those who are much older than me make big plans, but they don't realize that every day is a gift. For me it is, because I've got my 5 sensory systems: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory. And with all of my 5 senses, every day is a miracle. Everything I put close to my mouth, I smell and taste. Everyone who comes next to me, you don't just shake their hands, you taste them. Sounds weird, but you do. What has their life been like? How hard has it been? That's why I run these programs. Because that's all I am. I'm not your guide, I'm not your guru. I'm just a fellow traveler on a path. I've been to a lot of places you have not been. I've made a lot more mistakes you have not made. My only job along the way is to make sure that you don't fall into those crevices and holes and into those dark places where fear lives. I'm happy because my name is Mel Gill for now. I'm happy because after this, I get to sit and drink tea I'm happy because after this, I get to step out into the fresh night air and breathe the moonlight. I'm happy because I have nothing to prove. I just want to serve. Thank you for this privilege. You have been listening to the voice of Dr. Mel Gill, and this program is called Uncommon Sense. Friday will be the last broadcast of Uncommon Sense Live. After that, the following, maybe a month later, we will have programs that are more structured. Good night, everyone.